reality? If right and wrong are just personal opinions, then who decides why violence, theft, or chaos are wrong? In his new book, If There Is No God, Dennis Prager tackles the biggest questions of good, evil, suffering, and justice, offering clear arguments for anyone searching for moral clarity in a troubled age. If There Is No God by Dennis Prager. Available now at pragerstore.com. That's pragerstore.com.
Another major shift for a member of the legacy media. Bob Agnew reports.
The Associated Press says it will offer buyouts to an unspecified number of its U.S.-based journalists as part of an acceleration away from the focus on newspapers and their print journalism that sustained the company for more than 1.5 centuries. The news organization is becoming more focused on visual journalism and developing new revenue sources, especially through companies investing in artificial intelligence. That's to help the company cope with the loss of many print journalism outlets. Bob Agnew reporting.
J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon warns that a resilient U.S. economy could face renewed inflation pressures if the war in Iran disrupts global energy markets. In his annual shareholder letter, Dimon describes inflation as the potential skunk at the party this year. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. You know, with all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Spring deals are popping up early at Lowe's. Right now, get 4 bags of Stay Green 2 cubic foot mulch for just $10. Plus, save $20 on an Ego 56-volt string trimmer, now just $199. Spring starts better when you save early. Don't miss out. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/18. Mulch offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on. Over there.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas, baby. So thrilled to be with you. So many things to talk about out there in the world. A quick thank you to Russell. He is the host of the Press Box here at KSEV. He's actually also the boss. He is the program director, and he helped allow me to do the Dana Show today, covering some of the responsibilities I had here at this station so that I could fill in over there. So thank you very much. And this is the last day, although it is still happening, so it's just weird. And I've been sort of casually mentioning it and then moving on, which I think is what I'm supposed to do. But I am on 2 radio stations at the same time in one of the biggest markets in the entire country, and I'm kind of happy about that. I'm on this station live with you right now, and this is where I prefer for you to stay and hang out. and be a part of the show if you want to be. You can call in, that kind of stuff. But then I'm also on another station, filling in on the nationally syndicated The Dana Show. All right, a lot of things, as I said, to talk about. Nothing felt bigger than the press conference today, though, from the President of the United States, where he talked about the miraculous saving of two of our military members that were behind enemy lines. An aircraft went down, not a spacecraft. I'll be talking about space a little bit later. And we successfully saved two people. Now, out of all the things that he said in that press conference, I think the most important one was holding someone responsible for leaking information. So if you don't know anything about this, and he actually also crapped all over a New York Times reporter, which was amazing, and I have that too. That was awesome. We'll get to that in a second. But I do want to play the audio of him talking about the leak and how big of a deal this is, and that when they figure out who leaked something, they'll do everything they can to hold whoever it is accountable, because it was a matter of national security, and also the security of a whole bunch of the people that were trying to rescue an individual who also would have been put in jeopardy by this information being out there. But I thought this was a really interesting moment in the press conference, so I wanted to play this first.
When you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker, because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long, and I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk.
Yes.
They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in.
Yeah, so essentially the story said that one of the two individuals from our military who was behind enemy lines had been rescued. One of the two had not. And what's weird about that is not only telling the enemy that the United States is trying to save these people so that they know essentially whether or not they have the location of the person we're still looking for, that they have more opportunity to attack us as we're focused on doing two things at once: defending ourselves from any of the onslaught of an attack in general that's coming from a very weakened Iran. To be honest, I thought this was sort of amazing too. At the beginning of the press conference, he said it took a lot of talent and a little bit of luck. And I thought that that was amazing to mention, that it's a bit of both, because of how significant and how successful of a campaign it was to bring these people back, to bring two U.S. military members back to their families and not leave them behind. But as I say all this again, the most important thing, the biggest takeaway, the thing you and I need to know is that someone within this administration who had some level of access to the information that was the ongoing campaign while it was happening, leaked it to the press, and the press reported it. The biggest, most significant part to me, too, about this, the more I thought about it, is how many press organizations should know better. Pretty much all of them. I mean, anyone who's worth your salt at all in the world of media would know that reporting on an ongoing military operation of any kind, especially one that's trying to save people, is borderline insane and certainly illegal. It's certainly all those other things that it needs to be to get someone in trouble, and they didn't care. Now, I know this isn't shocking to you. It wasn't shocking to me. But the truth is that it's downright horrible that these members of these media places hate President Trump so much. They hate him with such a burning passion that they're cheering against our military. They're cheering for terrorists. They're cheering against our day-to-day lives if it comes to gas prices or anything else. Like the amount of things that they want to go poorly because Trump is involved, it has no limit. There's no line they won't cross. And this feels like the latest example of that, and a pretty damaging one to most of mainstream media in the horrible way that they approach their stories. Essentially, I think how mainstream media, most of left-leaning, whatever you want to call it, legacy media out there, goes about deciding if a story deserves to be reported, the number one thing is, does it damage Trump? If it does, we'll do it. If it doesn't, we're probably going to pass on it. The actual saving of the two people had less coverage from some of these media outlets than the attempt to save them, the ongoing military operation that they put in jeopardy in the first place. So It's downright horrible, to say the very least. There was also this moment, which I thought was interesting during the press conference today, where President Trump basically slapped a New York Times reporter in his face, verbally, not physically. But I thought that this was amazing. Let's do this.
Question. Deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure violate the Geneva Conventions and international law.
Who are you with?
I'm with the New York Times. Zolan from the New York Times. Are you
failing?
Are you concerned?
Circulation way down at the New York Times.
Are
What's
you
going
concerned
on?
that you're...
My favorite part, and I'm going to keep playing this audio, is that the premise of the question is you're violating international law, something the United States doesn't follow because we need to be a sovereign nation that gets to decide what does and doesn't make sense to us. We don't let anyone else dictate the terms of how we behave. This is not a Trump thing, by the way. This is a United States thing that has been this way for a while, regardless of what treaty we've partaken in. And most people will throw things like the Geneva Accords away. They'll just throw stuff out there. They'll be like, this or this says that. No, we've never said that we would operate any differently than how we believe it is appropriate to operate in any circumstance, whether that is aligned with or goes against any sort of international laws that are established by organizations we don't recognize as being superior to us. Continue.
Threat to bomb power plants and bridges amount to
No, not at all. No. I hope I don't have to do it. But again, I just said 47 years they've been negotiating with these people. They're great negotiators, and because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And if somebody that takes my place someday is weak and ineffective, which possibly that will happen because we had numerous presidents that were weak, ineffective, and afraid of Iran, we're never going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And if you think it's okay for people that are sick of mind, that are tough, smart, and sick, really sick, from a policy standpoint,
they hate
from
us.
A standpoint, any which way you want to.
Yeah, they hate us. Death to America. That's something that they absolutely believe and would like to see happen in any capacity with any ability that they ever acquire to do it. These are the things that President Trump is referencing there, and of course the reason that we would do whatever it takes to remove this threat from our society. No, you don't bomb somebody's infrastructure to hurt civilians. But if you're in a fight with an organization that uniquely uses all of the money they make to sponsor terrorism, everything that they do is a conduit to more terrorist activity in our society, in the world. When that's true, sometimes you upend their ability to make money because of where they're sending that money. That's essentially what this is. Bombing them back to the Stone Age is preventing them from having control of any of the things like the Strait of Hormuz that they use negatively because of their proximity to terrorism. That's what it is. I know people are going to say it's all kinds of other things. I don't care. What I said is absolutely objectively true, that Iran is the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it's the big reason that so many presidents before President Trump said they should do things about Iran and didn't do them, as he said there. Now, there's one other moment with President Trump that I actually really enjoyed. He was sitting down and interacting with children during the Easter celebration at the White House. There's an Easter egg hunt, all kinds of things. At one point, I think they were even just like drawing pictures and stuff. And some of the kids were asking President Trump for an autograph. This is something that you imagine probably happens often to him or any president that's sitting down with children that realize the person sitting next to them is obviously very famous, even if they don't really know who he is. And one of the best things that could have possibly happened occurred. Trump was making a lot of jokes that the kids seemed to like. He was joking about being the one that was drawing some of the pictures, just basic stuff, the stuff anyone would do when interacting with children. And then he went on a little bit, like a 20-second rant about the auto pen, and this was hilarious. To me, these are the adult jokes baked into the kids' movie. Like, these are the ones that are working on two levels now. But I want to play that, and it's a little hard to hear because the microphone is sort of a bit off of the president as he's interacting with children, again, celebrating Easter at the White House. But there's just something remarkable about the humor in this. And if I were a parent of one of these kids as he was signing my kid's artwork with his autograph and complaining about Biden's use of the auto pen, I would be doubled over laughing because of how funny I'd see all that And if my kid came back to me and goes, what's the auto pen? Even more so, enjoy it. But here we go.
Biden would use the auto pen. He'd have an auto pen problem. Joe Biden, he didn't sign. He was incapable of signing. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it's called? An auto pen. And he'd have the auto pen signed for him. He'd take the paper, hand it to his guys, and sign it with an auto pen, give it back.
I love that he's trying to influence the kids to be annoyed in the best of ways, in a very humorous way to me, because he's like, Biden wouldn't have signed this stuff. If you guys had asked for this autograph from him, he would have handed it to somebody behind him, and they would have auto-penned it. Because literally everything he did in his presidency, even signing autographs for children, would essentially be done via auto pen. That is both objectively hilarious, in my opinion, and the kind of thing that makes him such a unique person. He also did talk about egg prices. If there's one other thing that I probably think deserves to be mentioned from the press conference and the whole experience of it on Sunday, it was his mention of how much eggs have gone down in price compared to what they were when he first started. And I did enjoy this too. My favorite part about this is radio. I know you can't see it. The Easter Bunny is standing behind him. Melania is standing on the other side with him. And they're both just sort of nodding their heads. Like, yeah, egg prices are way different now, and nobody talks about it anymore. They were obsessed with it when Trump first got into office and asked him how he was going to fix the egg prices. Here was part of what he said to the entirety of the people at the White House celebrating Easter.
When I first got elected, my first news conference with the fake news, a lot of fake news here today, but I had a news conference, and the first question, what are you going to do about eggs, sir? I said, what's wrong with eggs? I just got there. It's my second day in office. I had a news conference, and they were screaming at me, what am I going to do about eggs? Then I said, well, it's like, tell me what's wrong with eggs. The price was so high. It was 4 times higher than it was a year before. I said, well, that sounds like a problem. Let me think about it. And Brooke Rollins, our great Secretary of Agriculture, she got involved. We all got involved. They didn't want me, as you know, just last year, it's hard to believe, they didn't want me to order eggs for the Easter egg roll, the Easter egg hunt that we have here every year. They wanted me to use plastic. I said, I'm not using plastic.
I'm not going to do that.
We'll get it solved. And within a short period of time, eggs came down. They came down 40%, 50%. And by the time we got there, we had so many eggs, we didn't know what to do with them.
I love everything about this. I love the Easter Bunny standing behind him. I love that I'll say this about President Trump. He seems locked in a way that very few people are. I don't necessarily stay on message with some of this stuff. And I know he likes to rant. He likes to bounce from one topic to another. But still, he's giving a speech in front of people, press, and guests at the White House celebrating Easter, and he's crushing an eggs prices discussion because he's right. If you actually Google it, by the way, the price of a dozen eggs is $2.50. At the height of the Biden terribleness that was that administration, it was over $6 for egg prices. And a lot of people in mainstream media rammed home the message to President Trump because they thought he wouldn't be able to lower the price, that egg prices were too high. They blamed him for something that he didn't create. He's right about that. You can go back and find it in the press conferences. And once again, it is true that egg prices are now incredibly down, far less than what they were before, and nobody talks about it anymore. Because why would they? Any of these things that are designed to actually give President Trump some semblance of credit for the success that he's had as a person, as a politician, any of it at all is 100% ignored. All right, I do want to take a break. After the break, we'll come back and we'll talk about Artemis II. Some cool things happen there. You know what? Actually, before the break, let me play this. I have one last clip, one last piece of audio that I think is pretty interesting. Republicans lead in net favorability compared to Democrats. Now, I opened that other national show that I filled in on crapping all over polling. And I'll tell you why I crapped all over polling. And some people obsess about it. Some people dive into it. They read it, all the time from now until till we actually get to the midterm election in November. And if you look at the data, by and large, the projections that exist right now in April are wrong 60 to 70% of the time. That's not a made-up term. That is absolutely the data points that you can find on your own if you want to look them up on how often these polling places are wildly inaccurate in the projections they make. It only gets up to about 60% correct, meaning 40% of the time it's still wrong within weeks of an election. Meaning all that data, all those poll numbers change and morph and move, and something about them, throws everything off. And then at the end of all of it, essentially still about 40% of the time, they're absolutely wrong. And when it comes to Trump and Republicans, more often than not, they're wrong. They're wrong more than 50% of the time. Trump was not predicted to win in 2016, not supposed to win in 2024. None of those things seem to ever reflect the reality of this situation. So I oftentimes crap all over polls. I think that it's an obsession about something well before a need to actually discuss it. I would maybe talk about the polling data 2 to 3 weeks before an election with a heavy grain of salt, that depending on who it is you're talking about, where it's coming from, that a lot of these things are just, whether they intend to tell you a story or actually try to get the real sense of what Americans think, they're wrong most of the time. So it's sort of silly. But as I definitely ram that message home, I do want to play this. This is CNN upset as they report, at least in my opinion, upset, that Republicans have a net favorability much higher than Democrats compared historically to this point during a midterm election. Things look really bad for Democrats. But again, even though this one benefits my side, by and large, I think that polls are stupid. But here we go.
Let's just take a look at this. Net favorability. Party ahead at this point. Midterm years with the GOP president. In 2018, Dems were up by 12. In 2006 on net favorability, which party you like more? Dems were ahead by 18. Republicans are actually ahead on net favorability at this point by 5 points.
Shocking.
So Democrats are just simply running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States.
Yeah, they need to be doing much better than they are right now with the American people, thinking that they're likable or at all concerned with anything that you care about. When you dive deeper into, again, this data that by and large I think is stupid to talk about, I will say that one of the more interesting things to me is how little people seem to believe, and I know this, you know this, we've both been saying this, whoever you are, whatever side of the aisle you're on, for a while now, that Washington doesn't care about you. D.C. does not do things that benefit you and me. We all know that. It's just finally valuable enough, in my opinion, as far as a conversation goes, that Democrats and Democratic voters are at least admitting their side is failing them. Now, granted, it sounds like they're still going to vote for that side, which is insanity, the literal definition of it. Expect a different result, but do the same thing. But nonetheless, it seems to be that mission, that whatever you want to call it, that their talking points are so far from the average American that even the Democrats are admitting, I don't really like these people. I'm not really a fan. And so the thing you're supposed to do as the actual bosses to the politicians, you and I are their bosses, fire these people. Fire all of them. Fire as many of them as you can. Wherever it is that you can fire them, fire a whole bunch of people. Get hopefully new people in who will do a better job, because most of D.C., as I said, doesn't give a crap about you at all. And that's not a controversial thing to be spoken on a radio station or anywhere at a dinner table in this country. All right, quick break, a lot more. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Rain-X wipers are the #1 wiper blades in America. That means all kinds of drivers choose Rain-X. Big drivers in small cars choose Rain-X. Small drivers in big cars choose Rain-X. Drivers with long hair and short commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with short hair and long commutes choose Rain-X. Drivers with pets on board, babies on board, and bored babies on board choose Rain-X. Basically, drivers who love a clear view of the road all choose Rain-X wipers, the #1 wiper blades in America.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Mattress Mac here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
The leaders.
Senator Ted Cruz.
Thank you, Chris. It's always great to be with you.
Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker.
Hey, thanks for having us on. I appreciate it very much.
The newsmakers.
Folks like Peter Schweitzer.
Hey, Chris, it's great to be on with you.
Ann Coulter.
Great to be here, Chris. Thank you.
And the day's top stories with spot-on analysis.
Their first concern is not for the security and safety of the people of this country. Their first concern is protecting their left-wing behinds.
The Chris Salcedo Show on The Voice of Texas.
Money Matters with Steve Drake.
The governor of California said, look, these big high-tech companies, Silicon Valley companies, are making so much money, they need to share their profits with all of us here.
Now Mondays through Thursdays at 11 a.m. till noon, here on AM 700 KSCV and AM 1540 KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Jim Clouk here, Checker Pro Joe. Join me this Saturday at 4 p.m. on The Voice of Texas for the Checker Pro Radio Show. My guest will be the roofing experts from Sugar Roofing, sharing tips every homeowner needs to know. This Saturday at 4 p.m. right here on KSEV.
To remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what was the greatest command that it was to love God with all that you are. And he also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so, as we prepare to go out of radio communication, we're still going to feel your love from Earth, and to all of you down there on Earth and around Earth, we love you from the moon.
That's awesome. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you. That is, as media is referring to him, I don't want to refer to him this way, but mainstream and legacy media wants to talk about an aspect of that individual more than any other thing. But Victor Glover, a black man who happens to be one of the astronauts that is going around the moon, or I think earlier today was further into space than any mission has ever gone in the history of the world. What I think is really important about this, or valuable about this, is he keeps pivoting back to Christ, to Jesus, to his own faith, to Easter, to anything involving religion. He keeps pivoting back to unity and seeing the whole of the United States or the whole of the world via looking at the earth as a place where a lot of people are incredible and have a lot in common. Like, he keeps trying to unite us as media obsessively talks about what makes him different, at least looks-wise, than anybody else on this mission that's going around the moon and coming back and checking all of the safety capabilities of this rocket so that another mission can actually land on the moon. This guy is awesome to me. I'm a Catholic, so it might be because of his faith and how it aligns with mine. And by the way, I know that some people ask this, and it's referenced in that audio there, how a spacecraft is capable of sending anything to us, audio, video, images, whatever it might be. It's actually all radio frequencies that are digested and communicated through computers to eventually be essentially dial-up internet. The way it works is very similar to dial-up internet, very slow, as you can even tell that cut out as they're going around the moon. But essentially it's radio. That's an oversimplification of it, but certainly I think an accurate description of it. And that's how we get the versions of all the things we get, is these radio frequencies are used to transmit this information to us. This is how photos and everything else gets there. It's essentially as fast as dial-up internet, satellites and stuff, all involved. Not necessarily Starlink, but part of where Starlink is coming from, part of how their technology works, is all within this same vein. I just think that's amazing, the technology of it. But nonetheless, also the message of it, that this individual, this specific pilot of Artemis II, is so intent on finding ways to discuss unity within the country, discuss unity within our people. Now, granted, there's something else he did say, and I laughed a little bit about this one, not because I disagree with him. I still very much like him and the things he's been saying, but there was a moment in one of these pieces of audio where you could hear what I think is almost like millennial thoughts, or the way that millennials were treated growing up, and Gen Z probably treated as well. I'm an older millennial. This is where you were told you were special again and again and again, even though not everybody is. I think Chris Rock makes that joke, that he was looking at a schoolroom of kids, his kids among them, and he's like, they're not all special, even if you say they are. But here, this is a little bit more from Victor Glover. I do really like the messages he's sharing, but there's a moment where he says, you're all special, everyone on earth is special, and that feels a tad similar to the things that would annoy me when I was a kid growing up.
I'm glad you brought that up, though. I think these observances are important, and as we are so far from Earth and looking back at, the beauty of creation, I think for me, one of the really important personal perspectives that I have up here is I can really see Earth as one thing. And, when I read the Bible and I look at all of the amazing things that were done for us who were created, it's, you have this amazing place, this spaceship. You guys are talking to us because we're in a spaceship really far from Earth, but you're on a spaceship called Earth that was created to give us a place to live in the universe, in the cosmos. I think maybe the distance we are from you makes you think what we're doing is special, but we're the same distance from you, and I'm trying to tell you, just trust me, you are special. In all of this emptiness, this is a whole bunch of nothing, this thing we call the universe. You have this oasis, this beautiful place that we get to exist together.
I don't hate this message. Again, I just think it's funny when he says you are special to the totality of the earth, when sometimes I know some people that I wouldn't exactly consider special, or special in a different way, not the way he means. But I love it. I love the message of it. I love the conversation, and just, in all honesty, what seems to be a very heartfelt person saying what he believes, and all of it is the exact opposite of how media continues to want to discuss this person. All right, we got a call coming in. I'm just going to risk it and go right to the call. Caller, what's your name?
Bart.
Bart, you're calling from, where are you calling from? Spring?
Spring.
All right, what do you want to say, buddy?
The 8 scientists and the 1 ex-general who've all gone missing in the last 8 months are dead.
Okay. You want to explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, they've had 8 scientists that work at the JPL or have some related to our space program, and 1 ex-general that have all either come up missing or dead in the last 8 months. It's not getting a whole lot of coverage in the news media.
Okay, so what's interesting about your phone call, were you listening to what I was talking about, or did you just call in because you wanted to talk about this instead?
No, I'm listening to the radio call from the other side of the moon. I'm listening to this program.
Okay, cool.
By the way, you're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, Bart. I'm going to play some audio in response to the thing you're talking about, Will Kane, exposing the high-profile scientists and top-secret military officials who have gone missing or have been found dead, to sort of further add credibility to the thing Bart's saying. I know you're a guy calling into a radio show, so somebody out there listening might not necessarily think this is real. I want you to hang in for a second, but I do want to play this.
Sure.
This is from a few days ago. This is from, I think, like April 2nd or something. But Will Kane and Fox News talking about some of these individuals.
There's a story that caught our attention. We're talking about a number of U.S. scientists, some connected to very sensitive research, who have died or disappeared. Let's break down what we know so far. We're going to start with Carl Grillmar. Carl Grillmar, pictured here, was an astrophysicist at Caltech. He worked on a NASA-supported space telescope project and infrared systems. Now, he was shot and killed at his home just 2 months ago. Then there's Frank Maywald. He was a senior scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, focused on advanced satellite systems, and he died nearly 2 years ago, but his cause of death has never been made public. Meanwhile, Monica Reza also reportedly connected to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab project. She went missing last summer. while hiking in California. No trace. It keeps going. There's William McCaslin, a retired Air Force general. He too is missing. He's a former head of Air Force Research Lab and oversaw advanced space and surveillance programs. He's been missing since February. And reports say he once oversaw funding connected to a project that also included Monica Reza. Now, there's more. To New Mexico, Melissa Casais. She has been missing since last summer. She worked at Los Alamos National Lab. She had an administrative role, but reportedly also had security clearances. Just months earlier, she went missing, so too did Anthony Chavez, also connected to Los Alamos, an engineer. He disappeared during a walk.
All right, so just to sort of demonstrate the accuracy in what Bart has called in to talk about, Bart, a listener to the station, calling in and saying that there are scientists who are dead and or missing, and I think anyone that's been missing for several months is also assumed dead, even if they don't officially say that they're sure that all of these people have died. But all of them have ties to different organizations surrounding NASA and or surrounding space exploration, Los Alamos National Labs, etc. Bart, now I want to bring it back to you so people listening don't just think that it's a caller making a thing up. What do you want to say about this? What's your belief? What are you? Why are you focused on this just as a person?
Well, I know that they had over 950 known people on the terrorist watch list that came across the border during the Biden and the Harris administration.
Yes.
And just when they were announcing about the Artemis project, these missing people and assassinations started occurring. And I'm wondering if there isn't some tie to assassins, kind of like killings, trying to sabotage our space program to kill all these scientists and people with leading knowledge.
Sure. I get it. Is there anything else you want to say? I'm going to react to what you're saying, but I'm going to let you go. But I want to make sure you get a chance to make any other points you want before I let you go.
No, that's it. I wanted to hear what you had to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Bart, for the call. I have been paying attention to this, and here's what I'll tell you, and I'll admit this going into this discussion. There are people that I don't know anyone connected to this, but there are people that I know in media that get very frustrated with the stance I take on some of these things. So I imagine some listeners may also get frustrated, but I want to make sure to clarify as best I can. I'm not saying Bart's wrong. I'm not saying I have any information that makes me think Bart is anything other than right in saying that it seems as though someone or some group of people are attacking individuals tied to our space exploration program for whatever reason. You fill in the blank, but it might just be a desire to prevent us from doing what we're doing. But I don't know that. This is the part that always annoys people. But I want to make sure to say it because I think it's so important to live in these lines of what you do and don't definitively know, because the left very often does not want to live in any version of reality. They want to object and ignore reality at every stance, at every moment that they can. But I also understand this. As I say, I'm not sure what this means. I know it's something I should keep paying attention to. I know it's something at some point I think I do want to talk in more depth about when I feel like I have a more definitive understanding of what the hell is going on outside of what some people are going to claim is just a unique set of circumstances, just happenstance, where all these people with close ties to each other and our space program are all dead or missing, which is, illogical to think that there's no opportunity for that to be a coordinated attack. But nonetheless, this is what's so important to me. And I've said this before. I'll use an example, and this might also make you mad. But I don't care. I'm not doing it to make you mad. I'm doing it because there's a point to it, who's ever listening to the show. During the heart of the 2020 election and after it, when everybody was really, really sure that election fraud took place, because it seemed utterly illogical, and I'll say this with a sound that hopefully makes you understand, I agreed with this sentiment, utterly illogical for Biden to get more votes than Barack Obama ever got. A man who ran a campaign in his basement, who was far from popular compared to how popular Obama was in 2008 or whatever. Not that he was a good president. Obama was an atrocious president. But nonetheless, it just made no sense. And Trump got more votes than any sitting president had ever gotten at that time. So it seemed as though he should have won that election. If someone anywhere in the world of these election poll things that are usually crap and I'm annoyed by had been told that President Trump would get more votes than any sitting president ever, they would have assumed 100% chance that he won the 2020 election. He didn't. And so what I kept saying, and this was blue in the face to people that told me they definitively knew the opposite, is we needed more proof. We needed more proof. We needed more than what they were dismissing in these court cases where they weren't letting these things see the light of day. And I'm not saying that it wasn't enough. They should have let those court cases see the light of day. It should have been tried in the court of public opinion. The Supreme Court should have taken any of a multitude of different cases about election fraud, mostly because it would have helped the American people better understand what the hell happened. And enough of us had questions and curiosity that meant something. But I can't pretend that questions alone are answers. And that's the danger we get into in our society so often. The Nick Shirleys of the world do what they do. They go and report on something as an independent journalist and prove the truth when all of us think we know what's going on, because we need that. We need more of that in society. And so I thank Bart for calling in and saying what he said and talking about this very odd story. And Will Kane, as I said, I had that audio from a couple days ago. I just sitting on my computer being like, this is weird. But right now, I don't feel that I have more information to provide to this conversation than what most of you probably have on your own, outside of, if you don't know, knowing that this is going on. And then now that you know it's going on, maybe you're going to start asking some questions too, to whoever you're going to ask them to. I'm not pretending that every one of us will be able to hunt down the truth in all this, but someone might. There's another Nick Shirley out there who wants some version of a answer that might be able to get closer than the rest of us to getting that information. But this is, simply put, one of the stranger stories going on right now, and it demonstrates, at least to me, the chance that the rest of the world is so terrified of American exceptionalism, the belief that encouraging a new generation of individuals to have pride in what, to me, and I think a lot of people believe this too, is the last stand against a world order that hates everything that America stands for. And this is the part that I'm totally fine saying. Someone somewhere will call this a conspiracy theory. I think that person's an idiot. Because truthfully, everything the U.S. was founded on flies in the face of anyone who'd like to see a world government or world currency or world anything that then controls the entirety of the people on this planet through that one system that they absolutely corrupt and do all kinds of terrible things with. Our government, our founding documents, our Constitution, all of those things, our right to bear arms, they all stand in the way of being the sort of thing where we would be a pushover to the rest of the world if they ever wanted to come a knocking right here. I believe that. I assume you believe that. Most people who listen to this radio station believe that. And so as I say that, I think the most important thing that could be occurring is discouraging younger Americans to feel that same sense of pride, that same sense of belief in the importance of the United States on a world stage as the deterrent to the evil that could exist if some corrupt organization gets a chance to have more control, more power, more something. And so I think that this could be a story that ties to that grand idea or that grand discussion about why some people thought it was so important to say not wear a mask when they walked into a Target during COVID, because they wanted the freedom to not do that. The store could kick you out. My reaction at the time was stop going to that store if they kick you out of those places. But nonetheless, I don't want to get off track. I think that things like this matter. But to Bart or to anyone listening, I can't definitively tell you that I know what's actually going on, so I'm not going to pretend that I know what's going on. I know what I think could be going on. I know what I think a lot of you might assume is going on, and it sounds very similar to what Bart said could be happening, that people are purposefully targeting the individuals tied to our space exploration programs because they don't want American exceptionalism to be a thing that new generations learn about, or they just don't want us to have success in general as a country. But all right, I'll take a break on that. I wanted to be clear since Bart called in and threw that out there, and there's a lot of truth to what he's saying, at least in the sense that there are 8 scientists who are dead and or missing, some who've been missing for a long time, and you assume at some point they are also passed away. But what that means and where we go from here, that's on us to keep figuring it out, keep digging, and refusing to let it just be one ear out the other, a version of a discussion. All right, quick break, a lot more. It's Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source, and these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, license number 263213.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. We have about 10 minutes left, and then the show's already over. 1 hour radio show goes fast every day, but thrilled to be with you. I'm going to do a quick 4-ish segment. These are sillier topics. This is full-on stolen from the Dana Show and her Quick 5. Where she does sillier topics too, or just not mainstream news or political topics by and large. I want to do this every day because we all need a palate cleanser. No matter what you're paying attention to, whether it is the awesomeness of the Artemis II mission or the ridiculousness of some of the news media and crap that's out there, feeling like we need an escape is something that I think a lot of us have. Waymo had a weird story. Waymo, those cars that are computer piloted, that are driving people around, the driverless vehicles. A woman, I think her son actually, called for a Waymo in Los Angeles, and she was picked up at a restaurant at a fast food place. The Waymo went the wrong way through the drive-thru. I have audio of her son documenting the experience, a ma being picked up by a vehicle that's already breaking some rules before it even has you in the passenger seat, driving you to your location. If this were a human, if you ordered an Uber or some sort of vehicle and a human being showed up and drove the wrong way through the drive-thru, you would not get in this car. But this kid lets mom get in this vehicle as he documents it on his phone. Here's a little bit of that audio.
So my mom ordered this Waymo, right? And tell me why the Waymo done went through the drive-thru the wrong way.
I don't have an answer.
You got to go through the drive-thru the other way. My bad, bro. God, Mom, be safe. You can't park here.
Yeah, I don't love the, yeah, Mom, be safe part because, again, if you watch something like this happen, a mistake like this where nobody got hurt, no crash happened, nothing like that, you just watch a vehicle make a very wrong decision. You don't put Mom in, shut the door, and wave goodbye. You usually say no to that vehicle. You do something else. This is the biggest reason that I think that all of these AI things will inevitably somewhat fail. I know they're already succeeding. They're already happening out there. But we're barreling toward the moment where you have a really bad accident because a computer got confused, and then maybe some of that stuff goes away. I'm not hoping for that. I hope it doesn't happen. But I do think that it seems somewhat likely that we might eventually be there. All right, other quick stories that I thought were important out there. Of course, the NCAA National Championship game is tonight for men's basketball. The two teams playing in this game both seem like they're likely to win. I don't know how to say that different. Michigan has been dominant during this tournament and throughout a lot of this year, beating the crap out of Arizona, a team that people thought would put up more of a fight, really solidified Michigan as a powerhouse that seems destined to win a national championship simply because of the talent on the roster. And then there's UConn, a team that seems destined to win because, like, the basketball gods or whoever, I'm a Catholic, this would be actual God, has decided it so. They actually seem like the real team of destiny. Their last second win against Duke and the craziness of that, and just UConn in general, just seems to be a team that gets hot at the right time, that everything goes the right way, the ball bounces the right way, and so this team wins a national championship. But I think it could be a good game tonight. I hope it's not a blowout like Michigan defeating Arizona. That was not a fun thing to watch. That wasn't an enjoyable thing. I hope this is at least a close game. I will certainly be watching it. The game should be starting in about an hour from right now, a little bit maybe earlier than that from right now. But yeah, there's a national basketball tournament that's going to happen tonight, and it should be pretty interesting. Also, another thing out there that I thought was valuable, and this is just sort of a thing that they're good news stories, so why not talk to you about them? A 73-year-old man in Southern California was pulled from a vehicle alive from a burning truck by two complete strangers. People wanted to save this person. They saw a bad thing happening, and they leapt into action. Anytime you think our society is full of people who hate each other, full of people who yell and scream and want to do whatever, you can occasionally be reminded that there are individuals that are just good humans because of stories like this. I want to play a little bit of the audio. This is of Steve, the guy whose life was saved, talking about the accident and the rescue.
I knew if I didn't get out, I was going to die and burn up alive. The truck flipped with me, and it throwed me all around the truck. The smoke was coming from under the hood and through the dash. I was afraid at any minute the gas tank was going to blow up. I was totally helpless, and the smoke and flames was getting worse and worse, and the woods caught on fire all around me. And then I saw two guys looking over down through the window at me. They risked their life to pull me out of a burning vehicle, and they risked their life to save my life.
Awesome. Everything about it is awesome. I love that dude. I love how emotional it sounds like he is as he's talking about being terrified that he's going to die and looking up and seeing two individuals through the glass of his car that successfully get him out of that vehicle before it is totally engulfed in flames. Just an amazing story, and a guy that I think definitely deserves to be both highlighted, talked about, and of course, a lot of media will ignore that story too, because it's too feel-good for them right now. Trump is in the office of the president, so they have to hate everything. All right, one last one as far as audio goes that I thought was interesting. This guy went viral. He's Irish. He describes himself as Irish, and you can tell by his accent. And he's very excited about the idea that the Irish might colonize the moon. I thought this was hilarious. I don't even know where he's coming from in saying this, but he seems uniquely happy about one thing and one thing only, that he believes in his lifetime he might be able to hit up a pub and get a drink on the moon.
They're saying we're going to start colonizing the moon by 2030, and the Irish have never got to colonize anything before. It's our turn. So they're going to start landing habitats that people can live on. NASA, I present to you Mooney's Irish Bar. You're up there on the moon with your little astronaut suit on you. You're feeling lonely. It's time to get pissed. NASA, feel free to get in touch if you need any further information.
I love this guy. I love the guy and how much he's excited about the idea of getting just hammered at a bar on the moon. I got to be honest with you, man. Occasionally, if you go out a drinking, and I'm married, so the missus would be the DD to drive us home in a situation where we're both going out and she doesn't want to drink anything. But occasionally, if you do that, you worry about any mistakes you might make along the way. And I'd have to think that if you were living on the moon in a habitat there, the idea that you could make a horrible mistake while intoxicated and just drift away from the moon into space, that have to come across your brain, that have to be somewhere in your mind compared to the decision to go out and go a drinking at Mooney's with this Irish guy. But I thought that was hilarious, that the dude was like, this is all I want. I want my opportunity to be blasted to the moon so that I can live there in a habitat and colonize a place, because he says the Irish don't colonize anything. And instead of just that, I also just want to get drunk there. I want to be the least valuable member of the group of people who are on the moon living there. You would think, by the way, if something did happen in 2030, that we would send people that had value to the mission. You know, you send a whole bunch of engineers or whatnot, people who can fix things if they break, just a whole bunch of people who collectively are going to make sure that this brand new society in this brand new difficult place to live is as successful as possible. And then you might send one guy who just wants to get drunk. I don't necessarily think that's what you're going to say in the interview that gets you the shot to live on the moon with the first group of people there. I don't know that that's a smart thing for you to highlight, but I find that ridiculously hilarious that someone's like, yeah, I just want this to be a vacation. I want this to be my version of enjoying myself, whatever way that is, and not benefiting anyone at all, essentially. All right, that's it. That's the whole show. We're already out of time. Thrilled to be with you on the Craig Collins Show. KSEV and KGBC are the two radio ways to listen to the show. I also live stream it all over social media on Rumble, on X at Radio Craig C, and on YouTube. Rumble and YouTube are both at KSEV Radio, so you can find all of the stuff you're looking for me and the Amigos. KSEV Radio, they do the Facebook stuff, 2 every Friday for their show. Multiple ways to find us. And then finally, and I've been meaning to promote this more, my podcast. The Craig Collins Show is podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And a lot of people have been listening recently, so thank you for that. All right, back tomorrow. See you guys then.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV Tomball and AM 15.